In the early hours of December 4th, United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson was shot outside a Hilton hotel in Manhattan by an unknown assailant.
Shoots him in the back, takes off on a bicycle.
Video of the gunman fleeing the scene showed him riding through Central Park and later taking a taxi to a bus terminal.
Guess what happens when you go through the city of New York? Camera, camera, camera. Guess what happens when you go to a bus terminal? Camera, camera, camera. He was trying to be incognito with a black hoodie and black pants.
They released photos of the man wanted for questioning in connection to Thompson's killing.
Take a look at these photos. I mean, you couldn't have a nicer photo to identify him.
The suspect was recognized at a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania on December 9th.
Probably the most expensive hash brown in history. Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, your board-certified criminal defense lawyer, coming to you with my pearl-handled pistol cufflinks so graciously gifted to me by our former content genius, Michael Rivers. God rest his soul. Today we're reacting to Luigi Mangione. Now, if you remember who Luigi Mangione is, he is a young guy who decided that the healthcare system wasn't to his liking, and he decided to eliminate the CEO for United Healthcare. And so he was arrested kind of a while ago, and this is one of the things that happens in criminal cases. They don't happen quickly. The government's had until February 17th to indict him, and then more time for trial preparation, and his state court appearance is set for February 21st. He's looking at a lot of charges, both federally and in the state of Pennsylvania. He's got murder and furtherance of terrorism, which may be a little bit of a stretch. They've got to prove they have to prove that he intended to inflict fear on the general public, basically. He was really more trying to shake up the industry. So does he have a shot there? If you say he's not trying to further terrorism, I mean, what's he trying to do otherwise, honestly? So, and then the other, what is his defense? This is a situation where he was so careful until he got to McDonald's, and that's where they fucking busted him. This guy was a brilliant student. He was came from wealth. He was an otherwise, unremarkable individual. And not somebody that you would guess would do something like this.
Luigi Mangione was arrested for possession of an unlicensed firearm, forgery, and providing false identification following a tip-off to the police. Mangione was brought to a courthouse building in Hollidaysburg, Pennsylvania. The New York Police Department confirmed his arrest that day.
At this time, he is believed to be our person of interest in the brazen targeted murder of Brian Thompson.
So since then, once they figured out who he was, they had writings on the casings of the bullets. So they said, deny, defend, depose. Basically, deny the claims, defend your actions, and depose the witnesses. That's essentially what he's talking about here. Because do health insurance companies make money by paying claims? No, they make money by denying claims. Anyway, so they were able to track, once they found him, then they just backfill everything else in. And I think he even had a manifesto, if I'm not mistaken.
CEO of United Healthcare last Wednesday in Midtown Manhattan.
Just hours after his arrest, Mangione was charged with the murder of Brian Thompson by prosecutors in Manhattan. He plans to fight his extradition to New York to face murder charges.
And we all know what happened after that. He lost the extradition. I mean, extradition is just really a mere formality, unless you can prove that it wasn't you, that you were not there at the time. So here's the unique thing about this murderer, Mr. Mangione. He has developed a following. He has developed a kind of a cult-like following. Two reasons. One, he's a handsome dude. So there's some loser chicks who like handsome dudes that have been captured. I don't know who those loser chicks are, but that's who they are. They love that kind of stuff. But secondly, he also is getting a following for his views on healthcare. There's a ultra left-wing liberal, whatever you want to call it, anti-establishment, anti-healthcare, or healthcare companies, which I'm kind of one of those. I'm not super ultra left liberal. I'm fairly liberal, but people talk about the healthcare debate, and I don't think government-run healthcare is any worse than what we already have with these companies that deny claims. You can't get the proper healthcare a lot of times. But in any event, I just know too many horror stories for that. So we have over 10,000 fucking donors. 10,000 donors to his campaign, or his campaign. It's not his campaign. It's campaign to be free, I guess. But his defense fund, over $500,000. And when this was done, $200,000 in the last 10 days. His lawyers are loving this because they're getting paid. But here's the other thing. There has been an issue with the way the government has come out with the discovery in this case. You can have a case that is perfect, but if the lawyers handling it fuck it up because they're either too zealous or they don't follow the rules. Remember what happened with Alec Baldwin? Alec Baldwin's case was not dismissed because there wasn't evidence. It was dismissed with prejudice because of prosecutorial misconduct. They got a conviction from the other person. Why didn't they just follow the rules? So his lawyer came out with a press conference. Let's watch Luigi Mangione's press conference. So here's the scoop on doing press conferences. I almost never do them because, let's just face it, our clients are usually fucked. But sometimes you have to do it because if she's fighting back. And what is she fighting back against? Probably some prosecutorial misconduct, releasing footage or releasing evidence that she doesn't even have yet as his lawyer. And if that's the case, is the government stacking the deck? Is the government tainting the jury pool? Is the government doing something to make it impossible to get a fair trial?
This is breaking news.
My intention was not to give a press conference, not to give remarks, and not to speak outside of court because I think...
But I'm going to do it anyway.
The most important thing is to speak in court on the record. But since video cameras, the application for a video of today's proceeding was denied, I thought I would give the remarks that I gave in court out here so that the people who are interested in hearing what's happening to Luigi Mangione can hear what's happening to Luigi Mangione. So I'm going to do my best to stick to the remarks that were given in court. First, I want to start by talking about...
Now that's okay. Why is that okay? Because the court is a public forum. Those words are a matter of public record anyway. Now, if you sit there like Alina Habba, remember that chick, Donald Trump's lawyer? When she gets out there and, well, I think this judge is just a piece of shit, and you don't do that. It's unethical to do that. There's a rule about it. You don't do that. This is okay because she's just repeating what's been going on in court.
Talking about the fact that Luigi Mangione remains in federal custody, where he is being prosecuted in 3 jurisdictions by the federal government, by New York State, and by Altoona, Pennsylvania. But he's being held in federal custody, and the Department of Justice has refused to allow him to be in state custody, despite the fact that they've all agreed that the state court is going to go first. Now, this is problematic for several reasons. Number one, the federal government is still considering whether to execute Luigi.
So, when you have multiple jurisdictions, who gets the first bite at the apple? Well, there's a thing called the supremacy clause. That's why the feds get the first bite at the apple. And then New York and Philadelphia, or New York and Pennsylvania, work it out among themselves.
And considering whether to seek the death penalty. So we are fighting that simultaneously while going first here in state court. And it impacts our ability to meet with him before court, after court. He's constantly surrounded by law enforcement. He's in shackles. He was wearing a vest today. Looked like I don't even know what it looked like, but a very serious vest with his legs shackled and his arms shackled.
That is there. I'm not sure exactly where he's being held, but when you get to the facility where he's held, you can meet him there. You can meet him there without shackles. You can meet him in a room without, without the vest, without handcuffs, and without anybody else around. So it does make it more difficult in federal court, because when I go to federal court, I can't meet with my client really alone. I mean, I meet with him alone, but he's in a room, there's glass between us, or in Minneapolis' case, a big thick screen. But you can't. It's hard to pass documents back and forth. It's really hard to communicate.
And so he's being treated differently because he's being held in federal custody than any other person who would be facing serious murder one charges in New York State court. And I made a record in court today that I don't understand what this show of danger is for. When I go visit Luigi at MDC in Brooklyn, I sit with him. He is unshackled. He walks around freely in the visiting area. We sit in a room together without one.
Let me just tell you, it's there for everybody's safety, for his safety, for their safety, and to make sure he doesn't do anything. I mean, he's demonstrated that he's kind of a dangerous guy by killing somebody. But he's also demonstrated, you saw him walk into the police department. So they're going by protocol. They're not treating him any differently, to be honest with you.
Enforcement hovering over us. But for whatever reason, here, despite all the law enforcement, they need him to be wearing this vest. They need him to be shackled, and they stand right over us, and we get no time with him. So he is being treated differently because of this unusual and frankly, just the fact that he's being prosecuted by 3 jurisdictions for one event. It all is about one thing, one single event. So
one really bad event. One really, really bad event. Murder one.
We object to that. We also made a record today that although the Manhattan DA's office has been providing discovery, we're past the discovery deadline, but they have made an effort to provide discovery, and we appreciate it. But
in criminal cases, it's pretty rare that there's just a discovery cutoff. I mean, a lot of judges will say we need a discovery done by such and such a date, but you can always extend that. Let's say some witness comes forward that you didn't even know about, and they contact your office or contact your investigators. Well, what happens then? I mean, what do you do? I mean, do you just, I can't talk to you because discovery's cut off? No, you say, no, we need to extend discovery, and here's why.
But what we haven't received is the police paperwork from New York City. We haven't received any of, they call them DD5s. Those are the follow-up police reports that detectives write. I am sure there will be hundreds of them, and we have not received those yet. Very important. We've also just today received the discovery regarding the arrest in the Altoona case, and we've received a little of that previously, and we are concerned that Luigi's constitutional rights were violated in Pennsylvania, and there are serious search and seizure issues that will be litigated in that case in Pennsylvania and in this case here and in the federal case, because it is alleged that Luigi had a gun on him and had other property on him that they are going to use against him in all of the cases. And if there is a search and seizure issue, and again, we have to review all of the paperwork and camera footage when we receive it before we say definitively whether we think there is one. But so far, what we are seeing is we think.
I'm going to tell you right now, I doubt that there's a search and seizure issue. He's caught on camera fucking shooting somebody. There's a thing called exigent circumstances or hot pursuit. Those are exceptions to the warrant requirement, because generally you need a warrant to search somebody's home, their place of, their car, or even your person, generally speaking.
We think there is a serious search and seizure issue, and so we want the opportunity to litigate it, including in Pennsylvania, where he was supposed to have a court date on February 24th, but the Department of Justice is refusing to transport him and allow him to face the charges in Pennsylvania. So he cannot litigate those issues in Pennsylvania. And which brings me to the most important point that we made today, which is Luigi's right to a fair trial is being infringed upon because he is being publicly treated as guilty and as having the presumption of guilt as opposed to the presumption of innocence, which is what he is entitled to. And although, of course, I understand the NYPD's need for a press conference before an arrest or after an arrest, which they did.
One of the things that, necessitates a press conference is when somebody's on the run and they don't know who they are. How do you think they even fucking got this guy? They put his fucking mug on TV. Oh, by the way, here's McDonald's. Here's my hash brown. See you later. We solved the crime. Why? Because we had a fucking press conference. So that's normal. That's routine. But you're not entitled to presumption of innocence in the matter of public opinion. You're just not. It's when you get to a jury that you're presumed innocent. Like, I can sit here and prejudge it all I want. Why is that? Because I'm not in charge of anybody's freedom. But you get into a courtroom, you are entitled to the presumption of innocence. You're presumed innocent until the government has proven your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. They have to prove each and every element of the crime beyond a reasonable doubt. Let's say they don't prove the terrorism part of that case, that this wasn't done to further terrorism. Maybe it was just done to protest. That's a way they could possibly win that count.
Here, I didn't like it, but they did it, and I understood it. What I did not understand was how shocking it was that this week on HBO, in a documentary, I see the chief of detectives and the New York City mayor, full hair and makeup done, sitting down and giving an interview for television and talking about the evidence in Luigi's case, talking about police paperwork that we don't have.
That's a fucking problem. That is a real problem. Especially on HBO. It's a nationwide show. They're going to have to really sift through jurors to find out, do you know anything about this case? Have you seen any of the evidence? I watch the HBO. You can't sit on this jury.
Talking about forensics that we have not yet received. I guess we have now today, but I didn't when I was sitting there learning about the case, hearing an actor play Luigi reading from a journal that they say is Luigi's, and we have yet to receive it from the prosecution.
That would piss me off. As a defense lawyer, that would really piss me off, and she's right to be indignant about it.
And so it's outrageous that they have time to go and prejudice Mr. Mangione's ability to receive a fair trial and go out and make these statements, but not give this to us. And so we are concerned because if the chief of detectives is telling everybody about all this evidence, and what if it ultimately gets suppressed because it was an illegal search and seizure in Altoona, Pennsylvania, how is he going to get a fair trial? So
it's a good point. A lot of ifs. If, ands, and buts. If it's the ends and buts were candy and nuts, every day would be Christmas. If. That I don't think they're going to have an issue with the constitutionality, but I don't know the case. So I'm going to preface it with that.
So those are a little bit more than I was allowed to say in court, but that's the gist of it. That's what my prepared remarks were, and hopefully will allow cameras in the court going forward. If not, I will continue to provide information. We put up a website that just has basic information. It's luigimangioneinfo.com, and we will post a transcript of today's proceeding on that website, and that's where we are going to be providing hopefully accurate information about this case. I apologize, I'm not going to take any questions, and I'm not going to make any other out-of-court statements, because this is truly intended just to be a recitation of what happened in court. But one last thing is Luigi really wanted to thank the supporters for being here, and we all appreciate it very much. Thank you so much.
What was the issue with this shirt?
All right. Well, that was a proper defense press conference. Now let's look at one more thing that you see across the street from the courthouse. Here's a picture of, before we get to that, here's a picture of his defense lawyer, and here's Mangione. I mean, tell me he doesn't look like he's right out of Central Casting. I mean, he's a good-looking guy, good-looking defense lawyer, fashionable shoes that he's wearing, shackled. But that's being shackled in federal court is standard. So he's not being treated really like anybody differently. He's got the vest on. Tell me how the vest is prohibiting any communication with him. It's not. So it just had, but you know, when they're in court for a trial, he'll be wearing street clothes. He won't be wearing a vest. He won't be shackled. He'll look normal, you know, just like you would, because you can't, it's unconstitutional to have a defendant in prison garb during a trial. So, and then one last thing, this is a picture of a jury nullification. It's a sign that was right outside the courthouse. You know, it's paid for people over profit, New York City. That's free speech. You can do that. What is jury nullification? Jury nullification is, I know it was like OJ. I think OJ was jury nullification. Jury nullification is when the facts clearly have been proven, but we're going to find the other way anyway. That's what jury nullification is. So, so that is our reaction to Mr. Mangione. We'll keep following this because this is going to start to heat up a little bit. Now, a couple little business items for you. Number one, there's some dickhead that's posing as me on YouTube. Hey, Mr. Dickhead, stop it. Nobody's buying it. It's CLRBREUC Rivers on YouTube. And he's trying to get people to come over onto WhatsApp. We've gotten a couple of complaint emails. If you see that guy on there, report him as impersonating me, because here's the thing. You're never going to hear from me trying to get you to buy anything except for, you know, like we did the e-forms. That's the only time you'll hear me do anything like that. You'll never hear me say, hey, come on over to WhatsApp. Let's chat. I'll never do that in a million years. So that's a scam artist, and he's probably going to try to take your money. So if you see that guy out there, he is nothing but scam. Now, I just want to, you know, I've been getting a lot of cards, and I got a gift from Allison Shallot, or whatever her name is. I just want to say, you know, you guys have just been absolutely tremendous in terms of your support. I was at Michael's house the other day, and it's just very difficult. Dear Bruce, after learning of Michael passing away, I was watching your video last night. It was a lovely video, seeing all the pictures you shared. I was in tears. R.I.P. Michael. Very sweet. And then a nice little crystal. You know, I've gotten so many well wishes. I had a guy come in stop by the office the other day, dropped off some African honey and a card, you know, just saying, you know, with support. I can't tell you how much I appreciate the support from everybody. And, you know, it's a good tribute to Michael. Michael was just an amazing, amazing person who just struggled so long for drugs. I mean, he had bouts of sobriety, and those were great times. Raising him was amazing. But he succumbed to it, and I'm grateful to have had him as a son. So I appreciate all the well wishes. So we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Make sure you subscribe. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us wherever the fuck you find us. And we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.
Why do you think they did not believe her? I think that a lot of that was that it was Johnny Depp.
Not the facts of the case. Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, board-certified criminal defense lawyer. We are doing a compilation of the Depp Heard trial. But before we get to that, this is brought to you by contractscouncil.com. Contractscouncil.com is an effective way to either get some work done if you're a solo or if you're a practitioner who would like to work from home. Go to contractscouncil.com. We have a lot of clients, but we need lawyers. So sign up, and I know some of you guys are fans of this channel. Sign up. You can be working in the comfort of your own home, doing some damn good work for people who deserve it. And if you need a contract written or any kind of contract work, go to contractscouncil.com and they'll help you. So here's the deal. It's been a little bit since the Depp Heard thing, and there's a new Netflix series out, or a Netflix show out about the Depp Heard trial that we're actually kind of mentioned in there a little bit regarding that trial because we covered it. So here's, without further ado, this is a compilation of the best moments of the Depp Heard trial, and I think you'll enjoy these.
But what I'm trying to get at here is when Amber Heard's in court and she's crying, and there aren't tears coming out, and she's talking about things that just are irrelevant details, but they're overly enunciated. She can lose credibility.
My dog stepped on a bee.
But he wasn't in movies. What, right. But Willy Wonka doesn't matter to you? Zeus Speed.
What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? Do I
answer that question?
It's bizarre. It's bizarre. That's what you call a nervous fucking tick, okay? And it's just bizarre.
Mr. Depp, do you recall Ms. Heard testifying that she punched you in the staircase incident because she thought of Kate Moss in the stairs?
Do I remember her saying that?
Yes.
Yes, I do. 3 times. Yes, I do.
Do you have any understanding as to what Ms. Heard was referring to?
Yes, I do.
So here's the problem that Amber Heard has. First of all, she's over-dramatized everything. And when she talks about something that she wasn't there for and has no idea about whether it's true or not, she's so reckless with the truth that, she doesn't know a truth from a lie, in my opinion. And so when you do that, you're not careful about what you say. And when you're not careful about what you say, the other side can pick up on that and then have something that absolutely is provably false.
As Kate Moss, Kate testified, it was many, many years ago. And what happened is what she said happened.
So Johnny Depp would not have been able to talk about that incident at all had Amber Heard not mentioned it in her direct examination. If you remember, there was a time where Johnny Depp's lawyers were like, yes.
In my head, instantly think of Kate Moss and the stairs, and I swung at him. And
the reason they're like that is because they had Kate Moss in their pocket. They had Kate Moss, she's going to testify, and they knew exactly what she was going to say. How idiotic is it really? It was unnecessary. She didn't even have to bring that up.
Kate Moss.
For how long, Miss Moss, were you and Mr. Depp a romantic couple?
1994 to 1998. We were leaving the room, and Johnny left the room before I did, and there had been a rainstorm, and as I left the room, I slid down the stairs, and I hurt my back.
How?
See, this totally cuts into Amber Heard's story because she's basing it on some rumor innuendo.
And I screamed because I was because I didn't know what had happened to me and I was in pain. And he came running back to help me and carried me to my room and got me medical attention.
Now you've got that vision, right? You've got the vision of Johnny Depp running back. I mean, so this isn't just, okay, Amber's a liar. This is, not only is Amber a liar, but Johnny's a good guy. That gives you a completely different impression. When I kind of break down the the pleadings that are in this case with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. There's a complaint that was issued by Johnny Depp. He's suing Amber Heard, okay? She has to answer that complaint, and then she's counterclaimed. So she's got her own claims that she's making against Mr. Johnny Depp. I'm a criminal defense lawyer, and the burden of proof in a criminal case is beyond a reasonable doubt. It's the highest standard in any of our cases in our judicial system, okay? We do try civil cases, but the standard in a civil case is slightly more true than not. So 50.01%. Let's dive into what the claim is by Johnny Depp. Claim, when you issue a complaint to somebody else, you're suing them, you have to state what your claim is. Count one is for defamation for statements Ms. Heard's December 2018 op-ed in the online edition of the Washington Post. And here's basically the nuts and bolts of this. The sexual violence op-ed contained the following false and defamatory statements concerning Mr. Depp. Amber Heard, I spoke up against sexual violence and face our culture's wrath. That has to change. Then, 2 years ago, I became a public figure representing domestic abuse, and I felt the full force of the culture's wrath for women who speak out. Another statement that's in the complaint is that I had the rare vantage point of seeing in real time how institutions protect men accused of abuse. The implication there is that the institutions are protecting Johnny Depp. I write this as a woman who had to change my phone number weekly because I was getting death threats. For months, I rarely left my apartment, and when I did, I was pursued by camera drones and photographers on foot, on motorcycles and in cars. Tabloid outlets that posted pictures of me spun them in a negative light. I felt as though I was on trial in the court of public opinion, and my life and livelihood depended upon a myriad of judgments far beyond my control. And so the claim is that these statements are concerning Mr. Depp, and he is Mr. Heard's former husband, and she publicly and falsely accused him of domestic abuse in May 16th. There's two other counts. Defamation for statements in Ms. Heard's December 2018 op-ed in the Washington Post, and it's basically the same statements that we're talking about. And count three, defamation for statements made in an op-ed in which Ms. Heard republished when she retweeted the link. So what do you need for defamation? You need a false statement that is malicious. In other words, she has to know what she's saying is not true. It puts Johnny Depp in a position where he has to prove basically that he didn't do this. There's almost a presumption that he did this. In the article, he's got to prove that it's false. So that's what makes it complicated. You've got Johnny Depp putting forth all his three claims of defamation, basically. And those are fairly simple and straightforward. Let's just talk about what those claims are. One, she wants a declaratory judgment per Virginia code under 801. And basically, Ms. Heard requests that this court, pursuant to Virginia Code 801-184, declare that she is immune from civil liability for Depp's claims in this complaint and for the statements in her op-ed because Ms. Heard's op-ed is regarding matters of public concern that would be protected under the First Amendment of the United States Constitution by Ms. Heard that are false. So if the jury concludes that what she is saying is false, then it's just a matter of damages from there. So the first claim that Amber Heard is saying is she wants to make the court judge that she is immune and all of her statements were protected under the First Amendment, which they're not. So that claim will fail, 100%. Then defamation and defamation per se. She's claiming defamation against Johnny Depp. Depp falsely alleged that Ms. Heard committed the crime of perjuring herself in connection with the 2016 DVRO, Domestic Violence Restraining Order, preceding statement with no truth, judicial statements whatsoever. Depp further falsely alleged that Ms. Heard fabricated the bruising on her face and otherwise perjured herself in connection with the 2016. Ms. Heard was at a party the next day. Her eye wasn't closed. She had hair over her eye, but you could see the eye wasn't shut. 25 feet away from her, however, how the fuck am I going to hit her? Which, by the way, is the last thing I would have done. And the last one is this violation of the Virginia Computer Crimes Act. It prescribes harassment by computer and with the intent to coerce, intimidate, or harass, uses a computer to communicate obscene, vulgar, profane, lewd, lascivious, or indecent language or make any suggestion or proposal of an obscene nature or threats. Anyway, that claim, I don't see her claims going anywhere, but that's why the testimony has gone all over the place. Both sides are claiming that they've been defamed. Her claim is $100 million. Not on her, I mean, she's worth maybe 8, I think, is what the last estimate I read was. And how has she been damaged to the extent of $100 million? And they're using the litigation, like this litigation itself is a violation of the Virginia Crimes Act, which it's not. Let's get into the cross-examination of Amber Heard. This is a delicate thing because if it's not done properly, it could really go south. Let's react to some of these cross-examinations.
Did you once this entire trial, has he?
Not that I've noticed, no.
You've looked at him, though, many times, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
You know exactly why Mr. Depp won't look back at you, don't you?
Now, first of all, I don't know why she is dressing this way. And I don't mean to be that critical of her appearance, but a jury, is going to have to take in what she is saying. And that includes her body language. That includes her dress. That includes her hair up or down. Everything's about communication. I would have coached her a little differently on wearing this dress, and I would have put her hair down. So one of the things that Amber Heard did is she got a restraining order, and then she sort of broke the restraining order herself by going to the hotel.
See what the jury and judge think. Tell the world, Johnny. Tell them Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp, man, I'm a victim too of domestic violence. And yes. It's a fair fight. And see how many people believe or side with you.
And you said to Mr. Depp, quote, you can please tell people that it was a fair and see what the jury and the judge think. Tell the world, Johnny. Tell them Johnny Depp, Johnny Depp, a man, a victim too of domestic violence, end quote. That's what you said, right?
I was saying it to the man who beat me up, yes.
Ms. Heard, you testified to an incident in March of 2013 where Mr. Depp hit you in the face multiple times. Do you recall that?
That's correct.
He talks about getting hit multiple times in the face. There are absolutely no open wounds on her whatsoever. If you are being pummeled with a guy that's got multiple rings on both hands, you would think it would break the skin. And that's the point I think that Camille's trying to make here.
Correct.
And you testified, quote, you don't know how many times he hit you in the face.
That's correct.
So Mr. Depp hit you in the face multiple times while he was wearing rings on this occasion, correct?
There were sorry, just so I understand better, there were several incidents in March. Which one are you asking me about?
The time that he hit you several times in the face wearing rings.
Well, he pretty much always...
March of 2013.
Right. What are you asking me? I'm sorry.
When you have a witness that's trying not to answer the question, which is what's happening here, she really lacks starts to lose credibility because there's a reason she doesn't want to answer because she's making it up, or at least that's what the lawyer is trying to bring out. So, and one of the other things you'll notice is that when she does give an answer, she looks at the jury. That's likely what her lawyers told her to do because she's really not communicating with Camille. This isn't a conversation between she and the other side's lawyer. This is really her communicating to the jury.
He was wearing rings on that occasion?
I pretty much always knew him to wear rings.
Okay, let's please pull up Defendant's Exhibit 170A, which is already in evidence, Your Honor. You testified that this is a picture you took after that incident, right, Ms. Heard?
Yes, that was one where he grabbed me.
And hit you in the face so many times that you don't remember. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
And there's no injuries to your face in this picture, are there?
Not that this picture shows.
And there's no medical records reflecting that you sought treatment after this alleged incident either.
I did not seek medical treatment at this time.
You testified that you were also raped with a liquor bottle in Australia, right, Ms. Heard?
Yes.
You testified you bled from your vagina as a result of that sexual assault.
So these are questions that are just so in your face. They're so direct. And honestly, this is just trial tactics 101. Coming from a man, it would sound so much differently than coming from a woman.
There aren't any medical records reflecting that you sought medical treatment for any of these injuries, are there?
I did not seek medical treatment after Australia, no.
Not for the rape?
No, I did not want to tell anyone.
Not for the cuts?
No.
Not for the injuries to your face?
I didn't need to.
Ms. Heard, let's take a look at Defendant's Exhibit 1090, which is already in evidence.
And if you notice, she doesn't give her time to explain. She gets out what she needs to get out and doesn't ask too many questions.
You took this photograph, right, Ms. Heard?
That's correct.
And you testified that this was taken in Tokyo in July of 2013, correct?
Yes.
So you decided to take a picture of Mr. Depp asleep on the floor?
He was passed out.
That's a
And
yes.
I took a picture of him because he wouldn't remember. He claimed he didn't pass out that way. And sometimes security would carry him like a baby into bed, get him changed, and he would be none the wiser. So I started taking pictures of it so that he knew that it was real, that it had gotten this bad.
Ms. Heard, does this refresh your recollection that you did in fact send this picture to your friend Rocky Pennington?
Yes, I did.
Sending these very compromising photos is not an act of love.
So you sent Miss Pennington this picture of Mr. Depp with ice cream spilled on him, right?
That is correct.
And you wrote, quote, "This is what I've been dealing with," end quote. Did I read that right?
You did read that right. That's correct.
And this is you protecting Mr. Depp?
That is me getting support from my best friend.
This is you supporting Mr. Depp?
This is me getting support from my best friend. I also need support.
You weren't afraid the monster would get upset that you took this picture?
This was Opiate Johnny.
It's also after a 17-hour workday.
So in this October 2018 interview, you said that you had, quote, donated, end quote, your entire divorce settlement to charity, right?
Now, we've all seen this one, right? And these are, she's just out and outright lying and playing semantics with it and doesn't want to go there. But she's on record, you know, on a TV show saying she's donated this money. You can pledge all you want, but until you paid, you haven't donated a jack.
That's correct.
And in fact, your exact words were, quote, $7 million in total was donated to, I split it between the ACLU and the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, end quote.
And think about this. I've read, I don't know if this is true or not, but I've read she's worth about $8 million. And 7 of that came from Johnny. So there's no way she's going to give away, 99% of her wealth.
As soon as I got a divorce and we reached the settlement, that's when I pledged it, right then.
And you say this because you, quote, wanted nothing, end quote.
That is correct.
But you hadn't donated your entire $7 million settlement to charity at that point, had you?
That's incorrect.
Sitting here today, Ms. Heard, you still haven't donated the $7 million divorce settlement to charity. Isn't that right?
Incorrect. I pledged the entirety of the settlement, $7 million to charity, and I intend to fulfill those obligations.
Ms. Heard, that's not my question. Please,
what
try to answer my question. Sitting here today, you have not donated the $7 million, donated, not pledged, donated.
Now, this is an easy one for her to answer. She could say, no, I haven't paid it yet, but I pledged it and it's going to get paid. She could, that would just be easy to say that, but she can't because she somehow thinks she's giving something up. The person from the ACLU has said it's not been paid. So it is just a fighting over semantics, which is just ridiculous. And you lose credibility when you do this. And it's over something stupid like this.
$7 million divorce settlement to charity.
I use pledge and donation synonymous.
As of today, you have not paid $3.5 million of your own money to the ACLU. Yes or no?
I have not yet.
You had all of the $7 million for 13 months before Mr. Depp sued you, and you chose not to pay it to the charities you pledged it to. Is that correct, Ms.
I disagree with your characterization of that.
Most of the money that was donated to...
So she's fighting with the lawyer over something that doesn't really matter. She could say, yeah, I pledged it. I haven't paid it yet. I'm going to. But the problem is she's on record saying she's already donated the full amount of her settlement, trying to make herself look better than she is.
To the ACLU and CHLA in your name came from someone else. Isn't that right?
I don't know what you mean by most of.
Well, at least $500,000 that was donated to the ACLU in your name wasn't paid by you, right?
I believe Elon made a donation in my honor on one of the years.
Yeah, and it didn't come out of your $7 million divorce settlement, right?
No, nor did it count towards my pledge.
And at least $500,000 that was donated to the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles in your name wasn't paid by you either.
Right, those were made at the same time.
And it didn't come out of your $7 million divorce settlement.
Nor did it count to my 3.5 obligation.
Those $500,000 payments came from your new boyfriend, Elon Musk, right?
I don't know if he was a new boyfriend at the time.
So one of the things, aside from, you can't just go after her just to make her a liar. That just isn't productive. I mean, that is something you need to do. You need to discredit her if you can. But you also, if you can, you need to bring things out that are directly related to the claims that she's making. So she's made a counterclaim. So let's listen to what she has to say.
Exactly 6 years prior to this week, the week of May 21st through May 27th, 2016. What happened at the beginning of that week? And did Ms. Heard know how long you'd be out of town?
I don't know if she knew exactly how long I'd be out of town, but it was a pretty extensive tour of Europe.
How did Ms. Heard's actions on May 27th, 2016 affect you?
So that last question is an excellent question, but it's a very broad, open-ended question. Now they object to it to throw them off their game. They just, some people talk about strategic objecting. I never do that. I try not to object unless I have a really good faith I try not to object unless I have a good faith reason to do so.
Changed everything.
Objection, Your Honor.
Oh, it didn't change everything?
This lawsuit.
It doesn't really help his case to be clever like that. Didn't help everything.
That's right.
Sure, if you could wait till the objection, please.
Yes, I'm sorry. Tourette's.
What has it been like for you to listen to Ms. Heard's testimony at this trial?
Objection, relevance, Your Honor.
Oh, overruled.
Insane. It's insane to hear heinous accusations of violence, sexual violence, that she's attributed to me, that she's accused me of. I don't think anyone enjoys having to split themselves open and tell the truth. But there are times when one just simply has to, because it's gotten out of control. Horrible. Ridiculous, humiliating, ludicrous, painful, savage, unimaginably brutal, cruel, and all false. All false. I wanted.
See, at that point, he should object, because now it's narrative.
No human being is perfect, certainly not. None of us. But I have never in my life committed sexual battery physical abuse, all these outlandish, outrageous stories of me committing these things and living with it for 6 years and waiting to be able to bring the truth out. So this is not easy for any of us. I know that. But no matter what happens, I did get here, and I did tell the truth, and I have spoken up for what I've been carrying on my back reluctantly for 6 years.
So you take the character evidence that was brought in by Kate Moss and that speech right there, and then all the chipping away that they did on the various instances where they can prove that Amber Heard is not telling the truth. I don't see how he loses this case.
2016, Ms. Heard walked into a courthouse in Los Angeles, California, to get a no-notice ex-parte restraining order against Mr. Depp, and in doing so, ruined his life by falsely telling the world that she was the survivor of domestic abuse at the hands of Mr. Depp.
So she's going right after her, by falsely telling the world, by getting a no notice. What a no notice is, it's an ex parte. So in order to get the restraining order, all you have to do is allege that there's some kind of abuse. Judges will sign it as if it's a leaf coming blowing in the window.
What is at stake in this trial is a man's good name. Even more than that, what is at stake at this trial is a man's life.
Now, here's the thing. When you were advocating for your client, and I've actually teared up in closing arguments before. One U.S. attorney called me "Cry Me a River." But here's the thing. First of all, I guarantee you, Camille, and the whole team is very attached to Johnny Depp. They believe in their cause. They know what they're doing. And so it becomes emotional, and it becomes a mission.
The abused. As you heard from Mr. Depp and multiple other witnesses that testified under oath at this trial, Mr. Depp experienced persistent verbal, physical, and emotional abuse by Ms. Heard during their relationship. You heard from Mr. Depp about how often Ms. Heard would berate him, insult him, and physically attack him.
So, and there's actual recordings and video to back up what she's saying and to back up Johnny Depp's claims.
Ms. Heard sobbing without tears, while spinning elaborate, exaggerated, fantastical accounts of abuse. And
My dog stepped on a bee.
No woman ever before Amber Heard ever claimed that Mr. Depp raised a hand to her in his 58 years. And
that's kind of an important fact, because you don't just all of a sudden start being a dick. You don't all of a sudden start just beating on somebody. I've seen this happen with guys who are wife beaters, and that's who they are. Nothing's ever their fault. They're cheap, and she's always to blame. It's just ridiculous. So let's take a look at the closing argument or just some of the highlights of the closing argument for Amber Heard's team.
You don't leave Mr. Depp. And if you do, he will start a campaign of global humiliation against you. A smear campaign that lasts to this very day. He will do everything he can to destroy your life, to destroy your career. That is what they're saying, ladies and gentlemen. And that's what they're trying to get you, the jury, to be an accomplice to. But it's not surprising, because Mr. Depp cannot and will not take responsibility for his own actions. It's always someone else's fault. Does the First Amendment...
That's interesting, because it's exactly what I've said about Amber Heard.
Give Ms. Heard the right to write the words that she wrote in this article on December 18th, 2018.
So the First Amendment's an interesting argument here, because the First Amendment really protects speech, but not all speech. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. It also, it protects you against government action. It doesn't protect you against private action. So it's a little bit misplaced, I think.
That's the question. And you cannot simultaneously protect and uphold the First Amendment and find in favor of Johnny Depp on his claim. You simply cannot. You have to decide, should someone be able to write an article like that in the United States of America without being sued successfully, without having to go through the hell that Ms. Heard has gone through? Think about every piece of evidence that you've heard over the last 6 weeks.
So his First Amendment argument is interesting because it's. I mean, that's what he comes out with. He doesn't come out with the allegations are true. I mean, which is really the ultimate defense to this, and which is what I would have come out of the block. I don't know why you would come out right away with the First Amendment argument. It seems weaker than can't find for him because it's true.
About his abuse, about their relationship. None of that is in the article. None of it. We all know that it would be a very different article if she had written about what she suffered, that she's told you about over the last 6 weeks. Because he knows the words are true, Mr. Depp says that the words now have a defamatory implication. He says the statements are the same as saying, Johnny Depp abused me. But just because he wants to make the article about himself doesn't mean it is.
She said it was about him. So he's contradicting the testimony of his own client.
He has to show you that any defamatory implication was designed and intended. Look at number 4. Designed and intended by Ms. Heard to convey the defamatory meaning that he suggests.
So one of the things you do in a closing argument is you can put up the elements, and that's what they've done here, is just put the elements of what needs to be proven.
Could ever make about their own life that implies anything, implies any involvement with any other person could be defamatory. And
that's not true. I mean, you can't, these are highly, highly, highly visible people. And the words matter.
It's clearly not what the First Amendment intends. She didn't design and intend the words to be the equivalent of writing Johnny Depp abused me. And you don't have to take her words for it. You can take the words of Terrence Norty of the ACLU. He said that the op-ed wasn't even Ms. Heard's idea. The ACLU wrote the first draft, and great care was taken in drafting the article so as not to make it about Mr. Depp or Ms. Heard's relationship with him.
Again, he's contradicting his own client.
That's the only evidence presented about Ms. Heard's motive, except her statements that was exactly what she wanted to do. She wanted to talk about her experiences after Johnny Depp. The only reference to sexual assault in the article, and you can read the op-ed, is sexual assault that she said she had experienced by the time she was of college age, before Mr. Depp. So there is a reference to sexual violence in that article, but it's not by Mr. Depp. And Mr. Depp can't hold her liable for a headline she didn't write. It contains something that was not about him. And they want you to think that she republished the headline by tweeting out the link to the online version. So let's look at this. This is the tweet.
So this gets a little drawn out, but you sort of get the point. I mean,
you can't give him anything. They didn't tell you that, but the court told you that. And that's a very, very important thing here. He told his story. He had his opportunities. He had his full opportunities to do all of that. And he came in here and lied to you and said he's here to get him.
The difference between Mr. Rattenburn and Elaine, she's speaking with a lot more passion. And not super big fan of hers, but she sounds more like a prosecutor.
Reputation back. It's just one of many lies in this case, but it's a really big one. Because here we are, 6 weeks of your time precious time, 6 weeks of this court's time, for what? For nothing. Only to go after Amber. That's psychological abuse. He's going after Amber for nothing. Because he wants to put her through this again, the third time. We're fighting back, and that's the counterclaim. She finally has said enough. Enough. And we're asking you to finally hold this man responsible. He has never accepted responsibility.
See, that's actually the way she's going about it is actually, that man. I think that's effective.
She's not going to go outside her house, without putting makeup on. And if she has bruises, why on earth, when she's been covering them up for 4 years, why on earth would she not put makeup on so that she would cover those up? Why on earth would she not want to cover up those bruises? It makes no sense. But you know what? You guys saw her here. You guys saw it.
So that is an interesting fact that she just brought up. And lo and behold, when TMZ's there at the courthouse, the only time they're displayed, she's not wearing makeup.
$7 million. What does she do with the $7 million? She gives it to charity, or she intends to give it to charity. Now, they make much ado about the pledge versus donation, but both the corporate designees for ACLU and for Children's Hospital said donation and pledge are interchangeable. These are pledges. The ACLU corporate designee said.
So next week, when it comes time for payroll, I'm just going to pledge to my employees their payroll. Because we just pledge it. It's the same thing as getting paid, right?
You typically do pledges because of the tax benefits, and that's what she said. She pledged it over a period of time because of the tax implications to it.
But she hasn't paid shit. I mean, I wouldn't even bring this up because she looks like it's just a losing argument.
To it, and because she was getting paid over the time. Now, she started to make these donations, and you'll see that the first one was on behalf of Mr. Depp's business manager, Mr. White, actually sent the letters with the $100,000 for each of those. That was the initial ones. He was trying to take credit for those, and in fact, both the ACLU and Children's Hospital got confused and gave the credit to Mr. Depp, not to Amber, for those. Then she made payments to both, and Elon Musk also made payments to...
She made shit. It's everybody else paying.
Both for $500,000 each, which she didn't count to her pledge, but they helped those organizations. At the end of the day, she's made $1 million in payments to them, but then she got sued here and hasn't been able to because she spent $6 million in attorney's fees. That is unrefuted. She still intends to.
She just said she spent $6 million in attorney's fees. $6 million. Here's the thing. The difference in caliber lawyers is just stark. It really is stark. The difference in approach to the case is stark. I think Johnny Depp will win this case, but I don't know for sure. You never know what a jury is going to focus on. You never know what they're going to hang their hat on. I just had a case where the jury could not decide after 3 days of deliberation, and it's a tough thing trying a case. It really is. But it's fun. It's so rewarding, and at the end of the day, when they got done, and I guarantee you, those lawyers know Johnny Depp better than anybody else, and it looks like they gelled as a team. It looks like he gelled with his lawyers. So now the jury's going to deliberate, and they've got a lot. They sat for 6 or 7 weeks in the trial, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. So we'll continue to follow it.
A Virginia jury's decision to side with Johnny Depp in his defamation lawsuit is drawing both condemnation and praise.
Not a lot of people, but some people talk about this notion that this has set the women's movement back. The light of day is not going to put any movement back. Facts are what rule the day. And if a woman is to be believed, which they should be believed, but it should withstand scrutiny, the facts got in the way of Amber Heard.
Yeah, a major setback for women, for women in...
Bullshit.
Inside the courtroom and outside the courtroom.
Because?
Because basically what this said, Amber had an enormous amount of evidence, although a lot of it was suppressed in this case as opposed to the UK. But look at all the women who have no evidence.
So Amber Heard had a lot of evidence. she didn't have any photographs of any injuries. And there were several rebuttal witnesses who completely contradicted her. And in fact, she didn't have really hardly any witnesses that corroborated her to a degree that she was discredited on rebuttal.
All these women who suffer from domestic violence, domestic abuse, they don't have evidence. And basically what this jury said is unless you pull out your cell phone and you tape record your spouse beating you.
That isn't what they said. There were so many things that were absolutely provably false. And I think that's, remember what I said a while back? Falso in uno, falso in omnibus. If you're lying about one thing, you're lying about everything. That's the credibility of a witness.
You're out of luck.
But Elaine, I think it was bigger than that because you had the evidence, as you say, but they did not believe her. Why do you think they did not believe her?
I think that a lot of that was that it was Johnny Depp.
Not the facts of the case. No. It couldn't be that they shoved a bunch of rebuttal witnesses up her ass and completely contradicted her with facts. It has nothing to do with Johnny Depp.
I think the celebrity status.
But she's a celebrity too.
Right.
Here's the problem. You're on this losing side. To be honest with you, nothing can be gained by her making this appearance on TV, honestly. I think it was smart for the Depp team to decline and not be public about this. I'm sure Johnny Depp says, I don't want this. I don't want you to trash her. I don't want you to say anything about her. And now you've got Elaine kind of going ham on Johnny Depp.
But you have to remember, it's a tale of two trials. All the evidence came in the UK. Mr. Depp brought that one. The burden of proof was on the son in the UK because they had called him a wife beater and talked about the domestic violence.
See, in the UK, Amber Heard wasn't a defendant. So it just was, it's not really analogous at all.
In this case, the jury not only didn't believe Amber Heard, but in ruling that she acted with actual malice, that means she had the intent to cause harm, right? That's a pretty high standard to have proven.
And it's pretty amazing since the op-ed never even mentioned Mr. Depp. You have to remember that. What they learned from the UK case.
The op-ed never even mentioned Mr. Depp. But didn't Amber Heard, in her testimony, she said it was about him. And then the jury believed her when she said that.
Is to demonize Amber, which is what they did, and to try to suppress as much of the evidence that came in the UK and did not come in the United States. But the other problem is we had cameras in the courtroom. So here we had not only did...
It's everybody's fault but mine.
So I am a former NFL player. And after a hard loss, it's easy to wake up, point to the other side. I realized the better thing to do was to look in the mirror. What mistakes did I make as a player? Do you feel like you guys made any mistakes along the way? Do you feel like Amber made a mistake while she was on the stand? It's the celebrity, it's Johnny, it's the people who support him. But what about you and your team?
Now, that is an excellent point. And the thing about it is, it's really hard for somebody who charges about $6 million to defend Amber Heard to say they made a mistake. And you sit there, she's not going to self-snitch. I mean, that's just not what she's going to do.
Well, and that's an excellent question. And to say, and Amber even said on the stand, I am not perfect.
Okay, let's blame Amber.
I am a human being. These people were giving her death threats. So are any of us perfect? No. Is there something else we feel we should have done? Yes, I absolutely. I redo my closings 100 times afterwards, whether I win or lose. That's part of being a good lawyer, a good trial lawyer is...
Right. Bullshit. I don't redo my closing 100 times. If you literally redid your closing 100 times, guess what? You're indecisive and you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Pardon my French.
There's always something. But I think that there were a lot of influences here that were beyond our control. I have to believe that the jury, even though they're told not to go and look at anything,
So now it's the jury's fault for looking at social media. So, I mean... So it's the judge. It's Amber's imperfect. She's pointing any fingers back at herself. No.
Weekends, they have families. They have
they were not
media.
sequestered. They were not sequestered.
And the 10-day period we had, how could they not have been influenced. Really ignored the cycle of violence and just said, oh, she wouldn't have done this if he had been hitting her. That was their approach.
So you thought that they weren't fighting fair?
Correct. I don't think they were fighting fair.
Objection.
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
I'll sustain the objection.
I'm gonna
A bunch of scar tissue.
I'm going to object to the extent it calls for hearsay and improper expert opinion. Objection, Your Honor. Objection leading.
I'm trying.
Objection. I'm trying here, Judge. I'm trying. I mean, what the hell? Could Elaine face consequences for what seems to be defamation of the jury? Is there usually a gentleman's agreement to not accuse the jury of breaking their oath? That seems to have been disregarded, or in this case, is it part of the actual ethics code? Sorry for any mistake I made. English isn't my first language. Well, Control Oz. That's a very good question, because first of all, I think it's bullshit to do that anyway, because what did the jury sit for? Like fucking 6 weeks? 6 weeks, you know, or more. And what are they getting paid? Maybe $15 a day? You know, they're not getting paid much. And their lives are completely disrupted. So you getting on national TV and saying that they're engaged in social media when she's got absolutely zero evidence of that is so disrespectful to the jury. You didn't hear the Depp team do that, and obviously because they're the winning side, they're going to say we love the verdict. But notwithstanding that, it doesn't matter. You know, I've lost cases, and when you lose a case, you shut the fuck up. And that's what she should have done. Maybe she wanted her 15 minutes of fame, but it did her no good. There's a rule about juries. You're not supposed to do anything to a jury that's going to either influence future jury service or call into question what they did directly. So one of the things I like to do after a trial is talk to jury members. Sometimes they will talk to you, sometimes they won't. Especially if it's a very sensitive case. They generally don't like to talk to defense lawyers. But it gives you and I a window into what they were thinking. And when you get a window into what they're thinking, you are able to look at yourself and say, what did I do wrong? What did I do right? And try to adjust for the next trial. Because you're always trying to get better. Always have to try to get better. But I would never badmouth a jury like this unless I absolutely knew for certain that there was jury misconduct and I could prove it. You know, then I would file a motion. But I wouldn't go to the Eyewitness News and say, oh, by the way, look at me, aren't I fantastic? Yeah, oh, by the way, that juror is a piece of shit. You know, you just can't do that. I mean, and I think there's no ethical thing I think that she violated by doing that. But, yeah, so that's that. So that was, aren't some of those moments absolutely hilarious? So that was, our little kind of recap of what happened during the Depp Heard trial. And it was just an amazing display of lawyering from Johnny Depp's lawyers, I thought. So we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Make sure you subscribe, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, and sign up for Patreon. And make sure you look at our Instagram, because we post a lot of updates on my trip and other things. So we'll see. The people who are crossing the border, but why are they coming here? Why are they coming here? They're coming here because people are willing to give them jobs. They will cross rivers. They will cross terrain. They'll do whatever they can to make a better life for their children. This is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, your very own board-certified criminal defense lawyer, coming to you live from the downtown office of Minneapolis with my pearl handle pistol cufflinks, so graciously gifted to me by my son and former content genius, Michael Rivers. God rest his soul. Today we're reacting to the events in L.A. Now, the Trump administration has ushered in a new era of the crackdown on immigration. Legal immigration, illegal immigration, any kind of immigration, you got it. Here's the thing that I don't like. You know, I'm a liberal. I'll admit it. I'm a social liberal, but fiscal conservative. Okay, that's how I kind of lean. I'm mostly a libertarian, honestly. I believe that immigration has got a very valuable part of our, fabric of our country. It's how we were founded. It's where we get a lot of our workers in this country. And we can crack down on the people who are crossing the border. But why are they crossing the border?
Are they murderers? Are they rapists? Are some of them are good people? Who said that? I don't know. Hey, I almost forgot. But before we get to that, before we get to all this immigration stuff, we're going to talk about AskALawyer.com. AskALawyer.com, very valuable resource when you are looking to either sue somebody or you're getting sued, or you might have a legal claim. Maybe you don't have a legal claim, but you want to talk to a lawyer, a live lawyer. For $49, you can get, where you need to go. Say, I need a referral for this. Go to AskALawyer.com and actually talk to a live lawyer for $49. You can't beat it. Or, if you're doing your own legal research, they have an AI component that's trained on all the 50 states. So go to AskALawyer.com for all of your, pre-legal needs. And maybe you don't have a claim, but you think you do. Wouldn't you rather know that up front? And they can tell you. Or maybe you've got an incredible claim that you just don't really know what the next steps are. Go to AskALawyer.com. Same people that brought you eForms and eSign. It's a very solid company, very loyal sponsor for CLR. Okay, back to the news at hand. Okay, so you cross the border into this country and you start working. You're doing illegal things, right? I mean, even if you're otherwise law-abiding. And the Trump administration is cracking down on the people who are crossing the border. But why are they coming here? Why are they coming here? They're coming here because people are willing to give them jobs. I mean, they're coming here because this is the land of milk and honey. Ain't a goddamn thing that's funny. They will cross rivers. They will cross terrain. They'll do whatever they can to make a better life for their children. But recently in LA, in the Paramount area, they've seen intense protests against immigration and customs enforcement raids. So they're raiding everything. You saw we did a reaction to the judge who tried to let somebody go. I mean, I just think that was stupid, quite honestly. But, I've had a client, he was here legally, facing very serious criminal charges, and they deported him before he could have his trial. But he was here legally. The protests starting on June 6th have involved clashes between demonstrators and law enforcement, prompting strong responses from authorities. Due to the escalation, Trump has ordered the deployment of 2,000 National Guard soldiers to Los Angeles, with a deployment planned for June 7th to restore order amidst reports of no-go zones and significant disruption. Stephen Miller is now calling the anti-ICE uprising in Los Angeles an insurrection against the United States of America. The LA police have issued this statement. Today, demonstrations across the city of Los Angeles remained peaceful, and we commend all those who exercise their First Amendment rights responsibly. I'm sure they do. The Los Angeles Police Department appreciates the cooperation of organizers, participants, and community partners who help ensure public safety throughout the day. I have no problem with protesting. I think it's honestly a fucking waste of time. That's just me personally. And it can get out of hand. We were here when the George Floyd thing was going on, and oh my God, was it a nightmare. It was an absolute nightmare. So Paramount, California is erupting into chaos as federal agents are fighting back against a crowd of anti-deportation agitators. Flashbang and tear gas is deployed against them. So let's just take a look at this video. What I don't like about this is the potential for danger, the potential that somebody's going to get shot. See, look at that. I mean, oh, Snowflake got hurt. Little Snowflake. Oh, poor baby. I'm sorry. Oh, it's not a snowflake. I think cops can go overboard on this because just like the protesters, people get kind of a mob mentality. And all of a sudden, you know, they think that, you know, oh, I can do this, I can do that. We'll watch a video of the agent's perspective inside their vehicle as it's pelted with rocks while they attempt to leave the anti-ICE protest in Paramount, California. You can hear and see the windows and windshield breaking with each hit. The rocks broke clean through the windshield, leaving a gaping hole. Let's just check this out. Unbelievable.
Hold on. Watch out with the fireworks. Stand by.
You know, they have a tough job. Honestly, going into this danger, I wouldn't want to fucking do it. I'm a pussy. What can I say? God dang! And here's a picture of look at the picture of this car, or this, you know, vehicle. So Mexican nationals are waving a foreign Mexican flag and launched deadly explosives at the police in Los Angeles. Check this out. Jesus.
Hey, did you see Glove? Whatever.
That is just crazy. You know, the thing about it is, these cops, you know, they don't want to be there any more than you do. What I don't get is, if you're out there protesting and you're peacefully protesting, great. Good for you. Get your message out there, you know. But if you are assaulting police, be expected to receive a very stern response. You know, I just can't believe it. One of the things about this immigration debate is that, I mean, these people don't come across here without something to go to. You know, they're not leaving Little Mogadishu or leaving, you know, the Medellin cartel umbrella to come to the United States where they're going to just be in equal poverty. They're coming here to flee violence and to flee poverty and to work. Is there an equal reaction to the employers who are employing, you know, people who are called illegals? I don't call them that anymore. You know, I had a case. My client had been here for 17 years, and he was charged with a crim sex matter because he was all of a sudden not doing what his girlfriend wanted him to do. His girlfriend wanted him to cook and clean, and he did that for years and years and years. Finally, he got tired of it. So then she made this allegation up, and I won the case in about 10 seconds. It was very easy to win. And he came to me and he says, look, this is what's going on here. And he told me the story. And I felt bad for him. And I felt grateful that I could represent him. Then I told the story to some other people, and I called him an illegal. I made that mistake of, and I didn't even know that was a bad thing back when this happened. And, you know, undocumented is what you're supposed to call them, right? Anyway, but I felt so good. And now he's married to a U.S. citizen. He's here in this country legally, and he had been here crime free. He still doesn't have anything on his record. So the raids, you know, that they're raiding everything. You saw how many people they're taking people off the street who are supporting Gaza. They're taking people who are going to court off the street, because I've seen that happen personally. But the raids are targeted locations such as Home Depot, a garment factory, and warehouses, resulting in the arrest of 44 immigrants on immigration violations. The operations were part of the Trump administration's broader strategy to deport record numbers and lock down the U.S.-Mexico border, with ICE aiming to arrest at least 3,000 immigrants per day. Give me a fucking break. You know, there's like 11 million here. You're not going to get rid of all these people during Trump's term. You're just not going to. So here's some footage of some of the raids.
So this is what's left of our work car. We had it parked near the scene. Obviously, we got here right at the beginning before we knew it was going to escalate to the situation that it got to. This is a brand new news truck that we just got. Looks like the tires were slashed. They busted into the
And in case you can't see, it says fuck ice.
windows. We'll see. They, our personal bags were in the car. They stole all the stuff that was inside. There are some things here. Looks like they took cinder blocks through the window.
Now, I don't have any problem with the proper protest. I think it's your absolute right, but I don't believe in destroying people's property. You know, I mean, that's felony level shit going on right there. Here's a little bit more footage of that same type of stuff.
Hey, todo va a estar bien, papa. Hey. Oh my fucking God, bro. What the fuck is wrong with you? I'm not doing anything. Hey, why the fuck are you choking him, dog? Hey, look at that. Hey, he's choking him. Hey, look, hey, I'm not doing shit. Hey, I'm recording. Hey, it's all being recorded, pa. It's all being recorded. Dale. I'm not doing anything. I'm right here on the curb. What you gonna do? Nigga ain't put the fucking bags down. Niggas, you ain't gonna do shit. Hey, déjalo. Hey, just let it be. Déjalo, papa.
I don't recommend you interfering with ICE like this. Look at that. I mean, it sucks to be a business owner with some of this stuff. So now here's the man with a Mexican flag circling a burning car during an the anti-ICE unrest in Los Angeles, as President Trump demands Democratic leaders get the situation under control. I love how they say blue cities and red cities. Well, where are the Republicans? Jesus Christ. I think some people just love doing this shit. You know, I remember when the George Floyd stuff came into town, there were people just looting just to loot. There were people that weren't even part of a legitimate protest that were just like stealing shit from a pharmacy, you know, lighting garbage cans on fire. I'm glad that ain't my car.
I can definitely feel the heat from that. Those tires are going to start exploding soon.
Holy buckets, look at that. Better call your State Farm agent. Unbelievable. So, and Trump, adds fuel to the fire. He says if Governor Gavin Newsom of California and Mayor Karen Bass of Los Angeles can't do their job, which everyone knows they can't, then the federal government will step in and solve the problem. Riots and looters, the way it should be solved. Insurrectionists carrying foreign flags are attacking immigration enforcement officers, while one half of Americans' political leadership has decided that border enforcement is evil. Time to pass President Trump's beautiful bill and further. I don't really care about that. I mean, honestly, I don't think immigrants are evil, and they're not. But you are evil if you fuck with cops. I mean, you just are. And some cops are evil. Don't get me wrong. But there's a balance. Strike it. So, and here's what Gavin Newsom had, his response. The federal government is moving to take over the California National Guard and deploy 2,000 soldiers. The move is purposely inflammatory and will only escalate tensions. LA authorities are able to access law enforcement assistance at a moment's notice. We are in close coordination with the city and county, and there is currently no unmet need. The Guard has been admirably serving LA throughout recovery. This is the wrong mission and will erode public trust. Borders. Oh, this guy's something. And I know I'm going to get backlash from people. When I talk badly about Trump or the Trump administration, but this guy just kills me. Borders are Tom Homan says National Guard are going into Los Angeles tonight. This is the way. Lawlessness will no longer be tolerated. We are taking our country back. You go, Tommy boy.
And, like I said many times, these elected officials or these non-government organizations, they can't cross the line either. I mean, we got people like, Hakeem Jeffries saying he's going to dox ICE employees, ICE agents out there with masks on. They're wearing masks to protect themselves and their families because they've been doxxed, their family's been doxxed, their life's been threatened, their families have been threatened. I know myself, I had over 1,000 protesters at my house. I expect that as the borders are, but these men and women are putting their lives online every day. They arrested a lot of bad people yesterday and today. They arrested child sex offenders. They arrested people convicted of robbery. They arrested...
There aren't that many pedophiles and rapists, and, they're not 3,000 a day. Are they all fucking criminals? They're not all criminals.
Public safety, not only significant public safety threats, but national security threats. They arrested gang members. We're making Los Angeles safer. And Mayor Bass ought to be thanking us for making her city safer. And the term...
All right, I've heard enough of him. I do agree the immigration issue has to be dealt with, no question about it. So what do we have now? Now we have Border Patrol Black Hawk lands in LA with dozens of boxes of ammunition and weapons. I mean, do we really need this?
It's a surreal sight. This Black Hawk moved in just in the last few minutes from the Border Patrol, landing at that Homeland Security office on the Paramount side, right next to the Home Depot, and they are unloading this huge helicopter with, just boxes and boxes, dozens of boxes of ammunitions, less lethal weaponry. You see these tanks with flammable labels on the side, one after another, an entire shipment, as if they were getting ready for some kind of a major battle. It really has to be said, this is a remarkable sight in the middle of a suburban street here where they are just unloading all of these weapons, carts full of boxes and flammable weaponry. So you can see that it just made its own parking spot.
Unbelievable.
There in the parking lot
of that
Homeland Security
they're planning for war. Rioters are getting lit up like a Christmas tree with less lethal ammunitions. And this is just the other night. Let's take a look at this clip. I remember when the George Floyd thing was going on, Michael was kind of going around filming stuff and taking pictures. But shit, I was so worried about him. And, you'd have to worry about anybody that's on the street. Fuck you. Jesus Christ. Have you got nothing better to do? Major Karen Bass says she's going to fight defend illegals from ICE. We are going to fight for all Angelenos, regardless of when they got here, whether they have papers or not. We are a city of immigrants.
We are going to fight for all Angelenos, regardless of when they got here, whether they have papers or not. We are a city of immigrants, and this impacts hundreds of thousands of Angelenos.
Here's the thing. Illegal immigrants are not taking American jobs from American workers. We're at an all-time unemployment low. They're trying to get work themselves. Yeah, but are we going to deport 11 million people or round up these people? You're not going to do it without a fight like what we got going on here. One last Truth Social from Trump. Great job of the National Guard in Los Angeles. After 2 days of violence, clashes, and unrest, we have an incompetent governor. I'm not going to read it. So where does that leave you if you are here undocumented? Well, you're taking your chances, right? You're absolutely taking your chances. Especially this administration is serious about cracking down. You're going to get charged. You can get charged with illegal entry, and then if you get charged again, there's mandatory minimum penalties. You're going to go to prison. You know, prison sometimes it would be better than going back to the, Medellin, for example, or any other war-torn areas of El Salvador. I mean, fuck, they just brought that guy back from El Salvador. Did you see that? So now they have him charged with, what is he charged with? Do we know? So they're charging him with transporting migrants across state lines, illegal migrants. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Governor DeSantis do that when he loaded a plane full of people up and sent him to Maine or somewhere up there to didn't the governor of Texas do the same thing when he put all these people on a bus and then into a plane, sent them to a blue state? I mean, it seems pretty hypocritical. And if you look at this, the feds have put out a little, seeking information kind of press release, assault on a federal officer and damage to government property. And look at, he's clear as fucking day there. When we had the George Floyd riots, I had 3 clients in that. One client was a girlfriend of a guy who torched some buildings. Another one was a client who owned a shop and was accused of shooting somebody, and he never got charged. And then another client was somebody who started a fire at another pawn shop, and which wound up killing somebody in the basement, and he wound up getting charged. It was just unbelievable. And you're going to see a bunch of prosecutions come out of this. And in the end, what are we doing? We have a lot of immigrants here. We're not going to deport them all. We're just not going to. You're not going to find them all. They'll go underground. God love these agents who are trying to do this work. It's dangerous work, actually, because especially if everybody's as dangerous as they say, going into a home that's got guns or, that's linked to the cartel. I'm all for getting rid of the cartel. I'm all for combating that in a militaristic way because they're making the people's lives in Mexico terrible, right? Why do you think people are coming here? If Mexico was so great, if it was so, just peaceful and prosperous and everything it needs to be, you don't see people from Canada, sneaking in, say, hey, you want to get some flapjacks down in Minneapolis as we cross the border illegally? Yeah, sure, great. Sounds like a great idea, hey? You don't see that. You know why you don't see it? Because Canada is taking care of their people. I don't mean to be an expert on immigration, but there's all these unintended consequences. People are getting hurt. Federal agents are getting hurt. And I didn't see this huge reaction from Trump on January 6th. In fact, what did he do? He pardoned 1,500 people. Jesus Christ. It is what it is, and it's all in, elections have consequences, right? And this is one of their deals. So if you are an immigrant here, undocumented, get documented, get legal, do what you got to do things the right way. Otherwise, you're going to just get picked up and you're going to be taken out of this country with little or no due process. Because, Mr. Garcia got no due process. Well, now he's being charged federally, and we'll see what happens with his case. So we'll see you next time here in Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Make sure you subscribe. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. Sign up for Patreon. And if you have a woman as beautiful as the woman I have and as nice as she is, oh, my God, count your lucky stars. We'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.